Live from the Injured on the Go Just Call Mo studio.
It's a blast!
It's Orlando's own Tom and Dan.
Welcome to A Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. We are live on YouTube and Twitch. Head on over there, like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. Tons of great videos on there. Melissa really been working her butt off with really great shorts and funny videos. SJ's got some compilations up there that you can check out. Tons of great content. Just search at Tom and Dan Live. You will really, really like it. I'm very, very proud of our YouTube channel.
Also, one of our brand new watering holes, 1010 Brewery,
Yeah, man.
is doing their amateur rib contest this Saturday, January 11th. Live music. They've got delicious 1010 beer.
Yeah.
They're doing a charity raffle.
Let me say it like this. Do you like eating ribs? Because this would be the place to go. And I freaking love ribs.
Yeah. And then you can make the joke, I'm eating ribs with this dude. And,
I didn't even think of that.
2016.
Yeah. A little slightly inappropriate, but funny nonetheless.
So that's at 1010 Brewing. Is it 1010? Wait, they're called 1010 because that's their address is 1010.
The number 10, TEN.
Yeah, but their address is actually 1010 Ivanhoe. Is it Ivanhoe? What's the street there?
You should have just said their address is 1010 and left it at that. When you go for specifics that you get into trouble, right? You got to go vague. You got to go vague on it.
But anyways, right near the studio, and that's this Saturday, January 11th.
Yeah, Mike and all of the staff at 1010's, delicious beers. They've been doing it a long time. And go there and support your local brewery.
Yeah, they have been. They've been doing it since seemingly
Right after us.
Like right after we started our podcast. I remember Mike started his brewery.
He was a distributing man, and he left that. And he was in the trenches with some other brewers, and he created his 1010 Brewing, and the rest is history. Delicious. I like their IPA. It's good.
So it was 41.
It's Virginia. There we go.
Virginia, 1010 Virginia Avenue.
Yeah, there you go.
So it was 41 degrees this morning. So for Florida, that's cold, right?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not. Maisie says she is, but she was complaining this morning.
So yesterday, we get an email from the coach at the kids' elementary school saying that.
Do you read it as the coach? Do you read it like, "Hey, sucker, you smell yourself, boy? Take a lap."
No, he's not really like that.
Yeah.
But he's still, since he's the coach, he's now an administrator. He moved
fun
his way
fact,
up.
I only ever had one white coach. Every other coach I had was either black or Puerto Rican.
No, really?
Isn't that cool?
DeLand?
Yeah.
So he sent an email saying that the cross country is before school Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Yeah.
And he sent an email saying, even though it's going to be cold, we're still going to run cross country tomorrow.
I like that. This guy's a Dan Campbell.
We don't know.
It's a Dan Campbell.
Although they canceled it before Christmas because it got too cold. So I wonder if it was just like, he's like, I'm not doing it again.
He took some heat. Yeah, he took some heat. He's like, they're weak.
So he's like, even though it's going to be cold, I don't really have that many people.
Does he have those horrible rotting out Brock Lesnar, Dan Campbell teeth where you see the root?
I wish he did. No,
Oh,
he's
man. Oh, my God. Dan Campbell's teeth are horrible.
Well, he's that's a chew, right? That he has
and I know
brown in the front.
I know what you're thinking. Some of you are thinking, Dan, that's a horribly judgmental and terrible thing to say. No. I don't want him to change his teeth. Those are his football teeth. Those are the teeth that are making a winning franchise. Have you seen how good Detroit is playing? Amon-Ra St. Teeth is what his name should be called.
Fourth down teeth. So he sends out an email saying, even though it's going to be cold tomorrow, this is yesterday, we're still going to run cross country. There's probably not going to be that many people, but whoever comes will still do something.
How'd you feel about that?
Oh, I was excited.
You liked it. Yeah, I knew you would like it.
I was like, this is, Crystal told me about the email, and then so I get home yesterday, and then I gather the boys. I'm like, quit playing video games and come listen to me.
Serious talk, Coach Dad.
And I'm like, now.
Huddle up.
I'm like,
hands in.
We have an opportunity tomorrow to
show this coach what we're made of.
And I'm like,
I'm getting chill bumps right now.
And I'm like, can you imagine that the coach? It's blistery, 41 degrees. He's out there bundled up, and then he's standing there.
Who's that coming through the fog? It's the van.
It's the van, boys. They showed up. They did it.
They're
Look
here.
how tough they are.
They're here.
It's Tommy and Mac's van, and there's his old man van.
An old man van.
And they're
Wait a minute. Are you calling yourself old man van now?
They're well in relation
it.
to my sons.
I like
and
it.
then they're coming. They're the only ones that showed up. Everybody else stayed home because it was too cold.
Yeah.
And Tommy and Max and Tom Van
Yeah.
show up.
They're
and
here. I admire your commitment, boys.
and then-
Dan Campbell said with a smile.
In my fantasy, he says, "Well, since you guys showed up, we're not even going to run. We'll just drink coffee in the clothes under the pavilion."
Since you guys came here, and put in the effort, we're gonna go under the pavilion and drink coffee, say curse words, and look at boobies.
Yeah. So I was explaining to the boys, I was like, it's our opportunity tomorrow
To impress him.
to impress the coach, and also to be the toughest family in the
Yes.
school.
Which is very important to you. I can see in your eyes how important this is to you.
Yeah. And
people think I'm joking. I am not joking. I am smiling because these type of things do make me happy. But I can see the actual and true joy and love in your face that you really felt. I meant to have an audio recording of this hype up speech.
Yeah. Now, if
This would be like Tony Dungy in the locker room giving him the God.
if
Did you give him the God?
If I imagine that if I gave the same speech to Maisie, she's all in 100%.
I see what's happening.
Like Maisie,
They have to be accepting. It's like a
Maisie
psychic.
be like-
You got to be open to it.
Maisie would be like, "Yes, all right, Dad, let's do it." And get up extra early, bundle up. We're getting ready.
Yeah.
We're driving there before the coach even. We're there at 3:30 in the morning.
Let's camp out and scare him.
We're there waiting for him before he even gets into.
We're the coach now.
Unlocks the door, and Maisie would be fired up. She's like, "I want to be the toughest one." Anyway, my sons not so much.
So how did they react to your your little promotional speech?
They were like, "Oh God!"
Wait a minute. I thought they liked it.
No, they weren't excited about how cold it was going to be.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and
Well,
then,
don't tell them. You're making too big of a deal with the cold.
Well, then I started bringing it back. I was like, and Max is like, "Hold on, how cold is it going to be?" I started
don't
lying.
let him. You can't let him ask questions.
I was like, "I don't know." Mike is always wrong on his Mike's weather page.
Good. Oh my God, you're selling out your friends. He's selling out his effing friends.
He started to hype up. It's going to snow
This guy's
in Florida.
nothing but Facebook hype. He gets with he starts tipping back the whiskey.
Yeah. Like it's not even, I don't know. There's who's his boss? There's no accountability.
Who vets Mike?
And so then I started bringing it back. I was like, well, maybe it's not going to be that cold. It's always an exaggeration, the news or whatever. And I'm like, but we just got to be there. And so they were very like, I shouldn't even said anything.
I think you confused them.
Well, they were not happy about it. They're like, oh God, it's going to be so cold. And then
who is the most unhappy out of the two?
Oh, Max.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought he was the more into the stuff.
No, emotional. He's the emotional.
Sorry, that makes sense.
Yeah. He emotionally was mad.
I'll
dreading.
I'll kick your window out of your car.
Yeah. He was mad that I was excited about waking up early, freezing cold.
Yeah.
Then, but Tommy, he was like, okay.
He's like, I'll do it. I'll just follow you along.
But Tommy's like me in the fact that I said we were going to do something tomorrow, so that's a million years in the future.
Oh, yeah. He's like, I got nothing but time.
Yeah. So I knew that a lot of this was going to be dismantled in the morning when we actually getting.
You just had to plant the seed.
Yeah. Then we missed school yesterday because Crystal.
I wouldn't tell this. This is what I wouldn't tell. This is what I wouldn't tell.
Well, we thought that Orange County, Crystal talked to Andrea and found out Andrea's going back today.
Yeah,
and
today is Maisie's first day back.
But Seminole County's first day back was yesterday, but we didn't know that. We didn't get the emails.
It's weird that you didn't know that because normally you're on top of that
they
stuff.
sent the email. The problem is they send too many garbage emails, so every email I get, I never open because it's always
gotta open them all. They make you open them all.
I start scanning through. I'm like, all right, so them bake
I
off.
told you not to say that. Tracy is straight up laying in. Tracy is a mom. Tracy helps us.
Okay, well,
we love Tracy. She's our QB. Tracy's very, very disappointed in you. Like Tracy is
Okay, well,
literally, and
all
Tracy's
right.
normally on your team.
Yeah. Well,
but she's
Tracy's only
mad at
got
you.
one kid. That's half as easy as 2 kids.
That I do agree with.
Yeah.
I got one. It's way easier.
Yeah, even though they both go to the same school, really just one kid. So nothing really.
They're always
different.
together. Super easy. Yeah. They're both like one.
They come in a pair.
Yeah, it's like
So-
one beautiful personality.
Yeah. Anyway, the first day back after winter break, I was like, it could be that. And what are they actually learning? Anyway, we didn't go because I got up this morning.
When did you find out that they missed school? Was it in enough time to make it, or were you just like, nah, you get an extra day?
No, yesterday Crystal called me and it was like noon already. She was like,
she waited on that. I feel like.
Yeah. She had the boys scheduled for a haircut and this whole thing, and she's like,
yeah.
I'm just gonna whatever. And I'm like,
You're
telling me,
you just gotta pretend like you didn't know.
You could tell if Crystal could convince me that she's just gonna homeschool the boys and they'll be just as good, and I'll be like, all right. I'm like, makes sense.
Well,
whatever.
I have that in common with you. Like, if Andrea told me the way to do things and it's a completely radical and different way, I would just go along with it. You know that.
Yeah, because I just
I might
assume,
question it a little bit, but I mean, she's got a lot more right than I have.
I'm like, who else is doing this? Kanye West?
Oh, yeah. I like his school. I got a text message from him this morning to buy his cheap clothing.
It's all $20.
I'm a
It's
size
brilliant.
3 fat.
Anyway, so we didn't make it. Although now, but the whole time this morning, so I got up this morning at 6, still with the thought that maybe we'd make it. You know what I'm saying? But then I opened the door and I was like, God!
It was very cold.
And then I was like, immediately, and plus it was pitch black. Like it doesn't even get like dusk until like the time we're supposed to be running. So it's gonna be like, barely the sun's up at that's the coldest time in the morning, like 41.
Yeah.
And then, but all I can think about is there's other dads that go, but especially there's one karate dad.
That's your arch enemy.
And
Troy the karate dad.
And then I'm like, I bet karate dad's there. Him and his daughter are there.
This is like Bob and Jimmy Pesto from Bob's Burgers. Like you didn't show up, so Troy the karate dad looked around and he's like, well, guess he didn't show up.
yeah.
Those vans.
Yeah. So, and I'm tempted.
Those limp-wristed vans.
And so then during dinner, I was talking to Max because Max was bitching about going to cross country, and then this is last night.
Yeah.
And he's like,
"Oh
"Why?"
man, he was really going."
Oh,
at
yeah.
it. So he does like
Because he's
me.
like, "Why are we
Hold on a
going? It's so
second.
cold."
So you are surrounded by emotional. So I am surrounded by logical people at all times, and they drive me crazy. And you're surrounded by emotional people at all times, and they're driving you crazy. Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to hug you and apologize. Yeah, I feel like I need to hug you and apologize.
And he didn't understand. He's like, "Why do we have to go?" And I.
But what if you just said, "Hey, we said we were going to do it, and the coach says we're supposed to do it. So a commitment is a commitment, and just leave it at that."
No, well, the coach said whoever shows up, it's fine. It's going to be freezing. Understand if you don't show. Like he was, it's elementary school.
Yeah.
It's not Dan Campbell.
No, I know. I got
It's not
you,
like
I got you.
we're biting their kneecaps.
But you have the ability though to say like, "Hey, if you signed up, I want you to make all the practices," and that's just what I want to do.
Yeah. Now I thought about this because
I'm kind of like that. Like I am a stickler on like if Maisie doesn't want to do something, even if she's like bitching about it, I'm like, I'm sorry, man. That's the rules, and then I put it on the rules.
Okay, well,
And I go, hey, I'm sorry. It's a commitment, and you got to honor your commitments. You can't just say I'm going to do it, and it's a little cold, and you can't go.
okay, well, I thought about this, and because I'm like, well, would a good parent just force them to go no matter what?
I don't really think of it like a force. I think of it like it's
Yeah, like no matter how cold
it's
it is.
completing the task.
Yeah.
It's not a force. The force, I'm not going to force, if you're, I'm not going to force you to do it.
No, but
we
they're
signed
like,
up for this.
They're like, I don't want to go. We're like, we're going, whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think the people like a Maisie, right? I doubt you had to force her very much, if at all, ever to go to dance.
No.
There was no
Never.
point where she was like, I don't want to go today, and you were like, you're going.
There's never been.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, I'm like, the people that are the champions in this world, they want to go no matter what. So I'm like, I don't think you could force a champion. That's all.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So I'm like,
No, I do agree with that, but you can force the value of the commitment.
But I think you can force a memory of someone forcing you to do something horrible for no apparent reason,
or you can
just for the sake.
Or you can overthink the forcing of things into thinking that forcing things is so bad that you never force anything.
Well,
and then if you don't right?
It just depends. Like obviously,
so how do you know? Like, how do you know what's right?
Yeah. But it's also like the people that the kids that want to go, and it's easy. For instance, like Dave Chappelle gives his mom a lot of credit for taking him to comedy clubs
when he was young.
Every weekend when he was 14 years old. And they're like, yeah, thanks to my mom for supporting that. If my sons ever had a dream of doing something and told me, like, would you take me to a comedy club? Would you take me? If they had a dream of doing anything,
right,
and saying,
but didn't they? They wanted to do.
Well, Max's breakdance, I take him every Monday.
The running. Didn't they both want to do that? Like, you can't change it. It's either you're in or you're out. It's not I want to do it when it's sunny. I don't want to do it when it's cold. I'm just giving you what I do. I don't do that. I don't adhere to that.
Have to do that? Do you have to tell her? Do you have to force her to do anything?
No, but if there was something, I'm not thinking of something right now. Maybe if Andrea's in there, she can think of something, but
that's the thing.
There are things I force her to do. Absolutely. Like taking the dog out. You don't want to take the dog out? I don't want to do it. Take the dog out.
Oh, of course.
Rules are rules. You have a dog. You got to take the dog out. So I look at the running. I look at that as exactly the same thing. It's a part of your life. It's a commitment. It's something you said you're going to do. So why do you suddenly get to pick and choose when and why you get to do it?
No, I force them to do their responsibilities. I'm just saying I'm like some, cross country at 41 degrees. And if they're not, I was hoping to trick them into wanting to show.
I don't think you can make them want something, but you can teach them. See, I don't think you can make them want to run, but you can teach them that the thing they were worried about, this is just my opinion. The thing Max is worried about, that he was all up in his head about, and he's like, man, I used to did it all night, did it in the morning complaining to you. Maybe you could teach him that it wasn't that bad. See, there is value in that. He gets out there, he runs a thing, and he's like, oh, man, I wasted all that time last night and all that time this morning complaining about this. This wasn't even that bad. You can teach them that, which might make them want to do it more. But I think just letting them go like, it's too cold, and just being like, well, you're right, it's too cold. I don't think that just teaches them that anytime they don't want to do something, that they can probably lean on you and get out of it.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, though. It's the kids that if Dave Chappelle, if my kids want to go to the comedy club and then that's their dream, and then it's just me driving them every night, that's easy.
No, I know. I know. I get what you're saying.
So it's easy when these champion kids when Maisie wants to go to dance every day, and is like she's like, I'd rather go to dance than anything else. Like, I just have to take me there.
I'll give you a better example. There's a camp that she went to that was the gymnastics camp that's around here, and she was already committed to it, and we had already paid for it, and she was doing it, and she didn't want to go, but we made her go because we'd already paid for it, and we told her, and we just reasoned with her, you're sorry, you're going to this because that's the way it is, and you're going. Okay. It wasn't even that big of a deal. It was more of a, like, you're learning that. To me, the lesson is, and look, I'm not the best parent. Andrea's way better than I am. But I think that sometimes the lesson is that it's not that I'm forcing you to do something. It's that I'm teaching you that you are strong enough to make it through something you think you can't do.
Well, was she crying about it? Was she freaking out? Or like, oh, God, I hate this?
Not crying, but silent treatment, yelling, I don't want to go, I hate this place. Yeah. Silent treatment in the car? Sure, 100%.
Better parent than I am.
No. It's just, I don't know. No, maybe I'm not as connected though, right? Like I didn't have my dad die in a hurricane very, very young. You know what I mean? Like that I almost cursed. That factors in. That 100% factors in. My parents were with me every step of the way. I probably had the most supportive parents in the effing world, like without a doubt. But they would force me to do some terrible stuff that I didn't like to do.
Anyway.
Stetson's Children's Choir, my mom and dad made me do that. I didn't want to do it.
I'm ruining my kids, obviously.
You're not. You're not.
So you watched this Grizzly documentary.
Yeah.
What was it?
Let's talk about. It's called what is it called again? You wrote it down.
Project Grizzly.
Project Grizzly. So this particular documentary is from the 90s. It's like super duper 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 old. But this particular guy became obsessed with inventing a suit. He's a Canadian real man. he became obsessed with inventing a suit to protect him so he could go out and observe grizzly bears in their natural habitat without getting mauled and crushed and killed.
Yeah, I remember the old footage of a guy in some giant. It kind of looks like the suits, and it may be the you know those like big red suits that self-defense instructors would wear.
Yeah.
And I wonder if the Grizzly Project, like those suits came from that guy's invention to begin with. You know, like they're modeled after that because they kind of look like that big ball suit.
His name was Troy. I don't really know how to pronounce his last name. Hurtubise. But yeah, it's a 1996 documentary about a Canadian inventor. It follows his obsession researching the Canadian grizzly bear up close ever since surviving an early encounter with such a bear. He almost like paints this picture of him being almost like a deity, of like he was sort of anointed. Like once he had this contact with a bear and it didn't hurt him, that was like the bear gods telling him that he needed to like do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
I've always wanted to be one of those people, right? Where you like had some sort of experience where like then you become, it's like the guy that gets bit by a shark, and then he decides that he is now Shark Man, and I will now protect all sharks because I'm one with the sharks.
And dedicating your life to some invention that protect, like it's. And I have something, when I heard you talk about this, like dedicating your life to nonsense.
Yes,
is one of my favorite things, and I'll explain later.
Yeah, well, this guy, he kind of did. There's the Ursus Mark 6 was the one he worked on. I mean, the suit cost like $150,000. He was always continuously testing, and that's what they kind of show in the documentary. They would try to simulate, because the funniest thing is, I don't believe that this gentleman, unless somebody can tell me differently, I don't believe he ever lived to use the suit with grizzlies. Most of the time, the grizzly bears had just run away. So they were still trying to test the suit using things that scientists and doctors would tell them. Like they had a scientist tell them that in order to simulate the attack of a grizzly, they would need to take like a 400-pound log, tie it with ropes, and swing it from a tree, and have the blunt end of it like hit him in the solar plexus and like blast him like 40 feet. Yeah, and
then they would hit him with a truck.
Yeah, a truck. Yeah. They did like a forklift. They just did all kinds of. Then I guess people started getting confused on whether or not they were just doing this for. At some point, you're effing around, like it's you and your friends in a suit. You're just like hitting them with an old LeSabre.
Yeah, dedicating your life to nonsense.
Yeah, there we are.
Because first, even grizzly attacks to begin with are insanely rare.
Yeah,
and are usually just random happenstance, like a hunter or someone runs across a grizzly bear and their cubs, and the bear will charge the threat to their cubs.
This is Quentin Tarantino's favorite documentary of all time, he says.
But even if you run across a grizzly bear with their cubs, like I think 9 times out of 10, it'll still just run away. You know what I'm saying? So it's like it's even like to even simulate it would be nearly impossible. And I'm sure the guy came up with a bunch of plans to try to simulate it. And it's like, even if we tried our whole lifetime to put someone in the suit near some grizzly territory, unless it was in a zoo or something, it'd be impossible to even have the grizzly attack.
I mean, it's definitely still worth watching, even though what I'm about to tell you. I mean, it's definitely worth watching just to see how quirky this Canadian real man is. Yeah, I also talked to our good friend Brendan O'Connor about it, and he knew exactly what it was just because he's Canadian. And apparently this guy's a bit of a legend, for his and he talks like, he's very much like he's very Canadian.
Yeah,
he talks like that. It's pretty cool. But in 2001, he took part in a controlled test with the help of an apprehensive bear handler in an undisclosed location to realize his dream of coming face-to-face with a grizzly bear once more. Wearing his Ursus Mark 6 suit, he stepped into the cage and with both a grizzly and a larger Kodiak bear. Neither bear attempted to attack him, leading him to conclude that a successful controlled attack would require a bear suit that looks more human.
Because they were afraid of the big, round.
If you kind of look at
nonsense.
it looks very much like a spacesuit.
It
looks very much like what an astronaut would wear, and I can imagine that most anybody would be scared of it.
So every once in a while, you'll run across a person that has dedicated their life to nonsense, and it's pretty fascinating because it's all random, and like every time I go down south or go to the Keys and I pass by the Coral Castle right there,
yeah.
like it is right before the Keys start or like Key Largo or whatever, and there's this some crazy old man built. They say a castle. It's basically like
It's
a bunch of,
cool.
it's like structure built out of coral, whatever. And then there's like a door that swings, and they're like, I don't know how he put this on, made this so it would swing with just a push or whatever. Anyway, he dedicated his life to nonsense, and he died, and now it's a thing. But it does make you live on forever.
I'm
You know,
100%.
because-
And I
because-
know you like that as well. I am
It
pro
turns
Coral.
you into a legend.
Yeah, I am pro Coral Castle. The word of the year is legend, because we are going to try and commit Cadillac Pat to a life of loneliness.
But it is just, it's only legendary because it's such a waste of human life, really, that we all like.
Do you
why
know how
did
many
you...
years it took him to build the Coral Castle?
It was like an absurd amount of time.
28 years.
Yeah, like he spent 28 years, and I think it was like a Forrest Gump. Like one day he just started carving a piece of coral, and then he became addicted to it. It's probably mental illness, right? And addiction.
It's a celebration of mental illness. yeah.
Because you just became addicted to something. This happened. I saw this out in Moab. Some guy started digging a cave, and
He can't stop.
And he spent his entire life digging this cave, and it turned into a roadside attraction. And he
Hold
built
on, I think that's cool.
a living room and whatever. But it was all for like.
How do we do this in 1 year's time?
You can. It takes in a lifetime. And
No, it takes a village. We need a village of people to help us build a cave.
And it never explains how these people dedicated their life to something that brought them no financial benefit, and so they're always
That's not you. You got to attach something to it, like.
Well, what did the rest of your entire life and family suffer because of this
Probably.
addiction to something that really is like
Yeah.
building a coral castle?
Yeah,
or
probably. See the
digging a
asterisk.
cave.
Please see the asterisk mental illness that you mentioned earlier. Yeah, I would imagine that this guy's family, it took him 28 years to do it. Here's the really weird stuff that screams of mental illness. He refused to allow anyone to view him while he worked. A few teenagers claimed to have witnessed his work, reporting that he had caused the blocks of coral to move like hydrogen balloons. The only advanced tool that Liedescan spoke of using was perpetual motion holder, whatever that is.
He would just use like a series of levers and old school block moving techniques. They have a bunch. I've seen this on my TikTok. At one time I clicked on how the Egyptians built the pyramids, and now it's in my
you got it
algorithm.
forever now. Yeah.
But and he may have used machinery, like no one was keeping an eye on him that close, so a lot of it's a mystery, but it's seemingly for no reason. And it's not like there was a charity involved, or this was being commissioned by someone. It was just he started and never stopped. And that's what I find fascinating. Like, it's like, remember when you're a kid digging a hole at the beach, and you're just like,
I was addicted to it, yeah.
Let's see how deep I can get.
Well, once you got water, you were like, I've done it. I'm a genius,
And then you're like, can I build? How wide can I build it? And it's just you become addicted to progress, and these guys take it to a lifetime level where it's just they start doing something and then they never stop.
We need
it's
to.
weird.
I got to go to this Coral Castle. I got to go to this. It's also sometimes referred to as Florida's Stonehenge.
Yeah.
In 1958, the Wild Women of Wongo used Coral Castle as the set of their Dragon God Temple. Here's the really awesome one. The lunar scenes for the 1961 film Nude on the Moon were shot at the castle. Now, here's the interesting thing about Nude on the Moon. Nude on the Moon was a 1961 science fiction nudist film co-written and co-produced by Doris Wishman and Raymond Flynn under the shared pseudonyms of O.O. Miller and Anthony Brooks. Nude on the Moon is the second of 8 nudist films produced and directed by them. While most nudist films at the time were set with a conventional nudist camp sort of setting, this was their way to get past censorship because they wanted to see what a nudist civilization would do on the moon. So they filmed it there.
That's funny.
That's crazy, right?
And then there's lots of these things around. Like a lot of them become roadside
Florida's weird,
attractions.
man.
Yeah. No, but there's a lot of these things in the desert. Like
Well, desert people are crazy.
desert people are a lot like swamp people, where they have a lot of time to build weird structures, and then there's like, I guess, nothing out there, so it's like this will stand out, and then it turns into a roadside attraction. Like you're burying a bunch of Cadillacs, or like building a weird
Cadillac Stonehenge or
dinosaur, for no reason. It's just like, why'd you build that? It's like, I just started one day.
it's a big wooden dinosaur.
Yeah. And then there's lots of people that like will start. I guess it's the same mentality of a puzzle or something. Like, what is that? Like, I think all humans have it, where they'll get addicted to accomplishment. Even like a puzzle is a good example.
Like you, like, let's say training for like your try. Was that sort of like similar, where you get addicted to the accomplishment of chipping away at the big task?
Yeah, but that's something where there's a clear defined finish to it.
Yeah.
With a lot of these things, there is no.
Yeah, it's open ended. It's like Minecraft.
Yeah,
it's actual Minecraft.
You start building it, and then you eventually die. And of course, no one is crazy enough to keep your project going, because there was no reason for it to begin with. It was only you. It dies with you.
Yeah.
But then you have this thing left over.
So the concept, and there are a lot of people online that don't understand this concept. In fact, I wandered into a Reddit group. There's a Reddit group of people that don't understand the term something to do. Like, why were you doing that? It's just something to do.
Yeah,
there's a whole Reddit group of that, where people are like, I don't understand. Are you kind of like that?
Yeah.
Like you're not really, you're a purposeman. You're not why are you doing that? I don't know.
Yes, I have especially in my older age, I can't do something that's seemingly frivolous or a waste of time, or just to pass the time, because in my mind I'm like, well, time is finite. There's only a certain amount of it.
Why would you want to pass it?
It's super precious. It's probably the most precious thing of all humanity. No matter how rich you are, we all get the same amount of time, And so I don't want to waste any of it. I have to. Every second has to be pointed towards doing something meaningful or something.
Right.
Like I can't just I could never buy a puzzle and put it together on my. If I can convince myself.
Puzzles suck, by the way. They're just absolutely terrible.
But if I can convince myself, like, this is a form of meditation, and that's the same thing with, like, running, too. I was getting bothered by how much time it was taking, and because it just takes time to get better at it. And I was like, it seems like it's too much waste.
Yeah.
And so I don't want to waste my life running, so I got to dial that back. Or because it seems like doing long distances.
I understand
for what
what
purpose?
You're saying. Yeah.
They get at a certain point, it's diminishing returns, or at least like it is a feat to do longer distances, but it takes so much time to train for it, and like they like the Reddit. I can't understand someone like, I'm just doing this to pass the time, because I'm like, pass the time. That's the most. You want to hold it and do, every moment has to be meaningful.
Unless you enjoy it, which means it's fine.
Yeah.
Which is what makes it weird. We got time for one more story I pulled. I want to do this before it gets too old. This one I pulled yesterday. You probably don't know anything about this, but the question that I have for you here is a massive and gigantic why. Married Stranger Things star caught cheating on dating app. Did you hear about this?
No.
You know David Harbour, right? He's the sheriff in Stranger Things, giving the waffles to 11.
The sheriff,
yeah. According to the Daily Mail, he's married to British singer Lily Allen. Okay. You familiar with her too?
Yeah.
I like Lily Allen. I've always liked her. So I guess they just split and they're married. British singer Lily Allen supposedly got creative when trying to see if Harbour was being unfaithful. According to the Daily Mail, Allen made an account on the high-profile dating app Raya to see Harbour, who had gained global recognition for playing Jim Hopper in the Netflix science fiction show Stranger Things, was looking for other women. Through her account, she found his profile on the app and could see if he'd been active. Apparently she was looking through here, and Lily was looking for women that were on Rhea, cross-reference women that followed him on Instagram, and bingo bongo. She found basically the guys that she found everybody that he was cheating on her with. And he was just on some standard, just a regular old. It'd be like if I went and got on Plenty of Fish, and I guess if Andrea tracked me down there, she made an account, went on Plenty of Fish, saw who I was linking up with. What makes this worse is, he's been gushing about her for years now, since 2020. Quote, I married a beautiful, incredible woman who I love. I've never met someone who is so deeply kind as her. I've never felt so taken care of and cared for like by any other human being ever.
Now, is there any excuse other than you're cheating as to why you'd be on a dating app? As like maybe
okay, so we're trying to.
You could just say like I was curious to see if women would be interested in me. Although you're famous, like Stranger Things is a pretty big show worldwide.
That's
so
my why. There's my why right there. You're landing on it. You are so high profile. I have to immediately say why. Why would you even? What are you doing? How dumb are you? What are you doing?
It seems like a weird.
I know you like these because we like to try and figure them out.
Way to choose to cheat on your wife if you are a celebrity.
Your wife is
actor.
a celebrity. Your wife is a famous pop star.
And it's the worst. Like that. You would think nowadays, 2025, people have come to the realization that whatever you search, whatever profile you put up on the internet, text message, even if you delete them, there's records of them. You know what I'm saying? Like digital records, emails, they've gotten a lot of people in trouble and they've solved a lot of crimes. So like anything you do with a digital footprint, you could track back to you.
I mean, he wasn't even hiding it. I mean, according to screenshots of his profile, the 49-year-old actor listed himself as living in Atlanta, Georgia, and visiting New York, quote, closet nerd that plays tough guys on your TV. This guy just like...
So he was admitting, did he put his real name?
Come suck my egos. Like, why? Like,
did he put his real name?
I don't know.
I mean, if he's mentioning that he's a movie star, or a TV or a Netflix star,
it doesn't say if he was using his real name.
You would have to use your real name if you're claiming you're like, I'm on Stranger Things. You're like, what?
I play Hopper on Stranger Things. I'm cheating on my wife. Come get me.
Like you would think that it's cheating is a weird thing.
It is
because for me,
so many different reasons too. Could be like it could be like a psychotic break.
I don't also understand the emotional reasons people cheat, and that's a whole different thing. Like women cheat for emotional reasons, whereas like I need this man.
And men like women cheat for emotional reasons, like me. Rhea is a dating app for super rich. The chat room is telling me.
Like when someone says like, "Oh, my husband or wife isn't showing me emotional." Whatever and
attention,
attention. This other person is showing me some
there's an emotional void there.
Emotion. And then that's why. But like, I only understand like I'm just horny animal, and then there was just some other female animal that I'm like, oh, I want that. And then there's like
you throw a steak on the floor,
and then it could be like in my mind, I am like I can disconnect any actual. Me doing this to harm my wife or whatever, like I wasn't trying to harm you. I was just an animal that wanted to bang this other animal, and I wasn't doing it because I was like, oh, I'm gonna show her or whatever. I was just like, it's meaningless emotionally.
Sam's in there and she says,
but of course, that's not how it works.
Is it really cheating though they were separated? The story I have here says prior to their split. I mean, it says that this was prior to the split. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if I'm still married, I mean, if I were still married to Andrea and we were having problems and it wasn't reconcilable, then yeah. I mean, I guess it's not really cheating because we're not going to get back together.
And is it prior to the public announcement of the split? Because from what I've seen, and when people split up or
especially
get divorced,
celebrities, they keep it quiet.
But like there's a long time. This is a long time coming. Like they lived.
God, it can't be that long because they just got married in 2020. So it's like.
Well, a long time, I mean, because 6 months.
No, I know. I'm just
like,
saying.
yeah,
You know, this was a quickie.
like 6 months of you living in separate rooms, and then you basically having the conversation multiple times that this isn't working, and then at that point you start, 5 months into it, you start a dating app. Then 6 months you announce the split up.
Right.
This was. Months in the making already, and then so it could be one of those things.
Yeah, Sam's also saying, depending on the state they got married, they may have been separated, not living together for a year before they can get a divorce. Okay.
Yeah, and it's also so weird that we involve the law and then it's it's a legal contract, marriages, but we still look at it as some sort of emotional contract until it's broken. And it's like, this thing, I mean, it's more complicated than that. Like, relationships get broken long before you separate the legal contract of it, or break that up. It's like it could be years of you saying like, this is never going to work. And then it's like, so you cheating, like people cheating after a year of being separated and not announcing it. It's like, is it really cheating? You've already emotionally separated.
Correct. The part that I like, too, because it's like wacky and kind of crazy, is I like the fact that even me and the rest of the world, they see this, and you apply what you know about Hopper to Jim. And you go, you see what it's like a effed up emotional thing where you're like,
you only know
never do that. He saves children and he's good, right? You do that. Don't tell me you don't.
He loves
do that.
Winona Ryder.
Yeah, he loves her so much.
He fought a Demogorgon for her in Russia. He flew a crazy airplane to Russia.
My point is, I don't know anything about this man. Not a zip zero. Like literally, he could be a vile, horrible human being. I don't know about this guy.
Or the greatest guy in the world.
Yeah, he's a good hopper, though.
And then if you knew them personally, you were like, oh, yeah, their relationship was done for a while. He started a dating app to find people. It's like, there's we're just, that's what's funny about, like, getting into celebrities or people that are any influencers, business, relationship-wise, because what the hell, like, how the hell do you judge or like even make a comment on someone's relationship? We're like, I have no idea who these people are and what they've determined.
But it does make
like.
me feel better. It does make me feel better. Okay, real quick, we'll end with this because we got to get out of here. You're trapped in an elevator with all of the Stranger Things children, and you have to push one out in order to live. Which one do you push out?
Oh, the no-teeth fatso.
No.
Nobody likes him.
I was going to go Will. The one with a dickhead haircut.
Yeah, I guess there's that. Yeah,
They're both real. Push them both out.
I don't like the no-teeth fatso.
Yeah. You heard that. You're never welcome on our show, you no-teeth fatso. All right. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to A Corporate Time. So me and Daniel have been talking business over the past couple weeks.
We're obsessed with business. A lot of people know that.
It's 2025, and we both discussed that once Hawk Tua got a podcast, that
well, really, it started with Shaq. I feel like no offense, no offense, but it worked its way to
Shaq. Then the was it Dudes on Dudes,
and
then Hawk Tua, and then
can I throw one more in personally, just for me? It's when Big Justice and AJ, the Costco guys.
No, they started doing a podcast.
The official Costco podcast. Paid by Costco.
Oh, yeah. And then we started looking up statistics.
Yes.
And there are 4.36 million podcasts?
4.36 million.
At the end of 2025?
Yes.
And then we're like, well, hold on. Well, how many talk radio shows are there? And then we've determined those are harder stats to find.
Yes, far fewer.
There are like 6,000 talk radio shows across the country. And so for every 666 podcasts, there's one talk radio show.
Oh, it was really 666. That's interesting the way it worked out like that.
That was 4 million divided by like 5,000.
Yeah, I got you. You don't have to do it.
Anyway, and then so actually having a terrestrial radio talk show is way more rare.
Way more rare.
Than having a podcast.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a rare Pokemon card right here.
So we're back full on radio now.
Absolutely. So let's do it. You want to do radio? You want to? Did I hear radio? Do you want to do radio? Do you want to do it correctly? Because what is one of the things that radio does correctly? What they do is they go to a hard, on-the-road comedian somewhere out in America, and then they force him to do a bit immediately on there. Ladies and gentlemen, live from what appears to be San Francisco and an empty theater, we had him on. He offered us free Zany reports, and man, when you get that offer, you don't turn it down. Ladies and gentlemen, national touring comedian, Mr. Bob Zany.
Thank you, you guys. And I know how important comedy is to you, but I realize that since you are a business show, I got to renew my DBA. Can you help me out with that?
Yeah.
We can do it. We're on it.
We're actually rebranding the whole corporate time thing, Bob, because we realize that everybody gets confused that we're talking some sort of corporate business,
but we're not.
Business.
We're just talking about our lives. But
it couldn't be further from business as it gets.
No, it is. And Tom, your statistics really. I was thinking about taking an Ambien tonight, but I'm just going to go over them in my head tonight.
Thanks, Bob.
The listeners are the extension of Bob.
I want you guys to know that I'm a radio insultant. What I do is I come in and make fun of the show, and then you make it better. So, again, that's what I add to it. I'm not in San Francisco. I'm in my hometown of Las Vegas, Nevada, actually Henderson, where I have a good view of the Strip from my front door. I can actually see the Sphere, and it's a big, giant ball.
There you go. Live from the Sphere.
Bob.
Sphere.
How is the escort thing as popular in Vegas? I know it's got to be. Well, is it still popular? Do the Uber drivers and the taxi cab drivers? I don't even know if they're taxis anymore. But
yeah, what is Vegas like now? We haven't been there in a minute.
Give out the little escort.
Listen, I'm not gonna answer the escort question, Tom. I'm glad you brought it up. But my wife's working right now, but she knows all the answers.
Yes,
that is. Yeah.
That's why you got the goods, Bob.
I'm gonna get you.
By the way, there are cabs here. The cabs are dominant still, but you have to walk really far at the airport to find the Uber and the Lyft. And you know what I'm tired of is these Uber and Lyft drivers that do both services. Pick a side.
Yeah, you're right.
Stop riding the fence. You don't get both. You're either yellow or a dilapidated car.
That's right. And that's when I always request. That way, you know, I think Rent-A-Wreck should actually have an Uber service, and that would be the icing on the cake, as they say. By the way, guys, I do a thing called the Zany Report. This is going to be a monthly feature.
Yes.
The reason I'm here on your show is because of Porky's Comedy Club. I'm
Yes, sir.
already rebooked there in November, so we'll talk more about that. But they have great comedy there every week at Porky's. Just ask Eric. He kept telling me that, and I wouldn't listen.
Yeah. No, Porky's is great, and
they've always been good to us, man. And they bring us bacon.
They really are. And with your weight gain, Porky's is really starting to take off for you.
It really. I'm becoming Porky's, actually.
You really are. Hey, I got some news for you. You guys ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Woo!
Well, President Biden awarded the Presidential Citizens Medal to former Representative Liz Cheney. This is her second honor in a week. The first was winning the Sesame Street, actually, Miss Piggy lookalike contest.
I like that. I'll support
Miss
that.
Piggy, yes!
There wasn't even a close second. She got that all on her own. Kind of a sad note. I hate to bring things down, but Helena Senhouse, who was the second oldest person in the United States, has passed away at the age of 113.
God.
That's horrible.
Yeah, she said the secret to longevity, never having kids. Now, she passed away peacefully, surrounded by no one.
You know what? I thought about this the other day, Bob. When people are like,
That's gonna be me.
They died surrounded by their friends and family, and I'm like, I don't want to die that way. I don't want them seeing that.
Don't look at me.
Yeah. Like I on the like a die like an animal in the wild. You just go off into the woods alone and you die alone.
Yeah. That's what dogs do.
People like
you know what?
Sorry.
You know, Tom, you're much like Ted Kaczynski, and I can't wait to read your manifesto.
Yeah, definitely. This guy's nuts. I mean, he's super crazy. Overthinks everything.
I don't. Do you want your family to watch you die? It's weird.
Right into my eyes.
By the way, you guys, this is a business show. It's all about the corporate, so I have a business story.
Okay.
Party City, who recently claimed bankruptcy, has announced the closing of all their stores effective immediately. Now, the CEO of Party City said their debt was so big they couldn't make their balloon payment.
Yeah. That one. Kapow! That gets a kapow. Yeah, I love that one. Did you know that they actually, Bob, did you know that Party City actually sent some of their higher-ups to China for a buyer's meeting, and then they shut the company down, leaving them stranded? Did you know that?
No,
That's a true story. That's not a joke. I'm not joking. They sent people there for a buyer's meeting, like, "Hey, look at these new supplies," and then they got there, and then they were like, "Oh, let's shut the whole company down," and then they had no way to get home.
Well, I actually knew they were in trouble because I went to Party City, and the person at the front said, "You're not invited."
I like that too. Kapow! That gets another kapow.
Hey, my wife.
This is a very important feature of the Zany Report, you guys. This is where we go back in time and revisit a past Zany Report joke. I've been doing the Zany Report dating back to the early '80s on KLOS radio, through Bob and Tom and everybody else through the years. So what I'm going to do is revisit a past Zany Report joke. Now, this is at great risk to both our three of our healths, but I'm going to do it. Bear with me. Ready?
Sure.
Okay. It worked. Here it is, October 4th, 2016. Fun fact you should know. Do you know, guys, Bill Clinton went to college in England?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. He said he loves studying abroad, but doesn't remember her name.
Hold on. That joke was from 2016?
Yeah.
Shouldn't that joke be from...
No. The fact that it's from 2016 is what makes it
1998.
a true classic. I love it.
But it wasn't too late. I mean, 2016? It was old already. Sorry, Bob.
Yeah, it was an old joke already, and that's what you bring to the show, Tom. I think the way you just make people feel bad about themselves.
That's what Tuttle said. That's what our friend Tuttle said. Now we have two of our most famous reoccurring bits monthly. We have a very good friend, a stunt boy, a radio guy named Tuttle, and he says the same thing. He says that every time he comes on the show, he feels terrible about himself.
I'm sorry, Bob.
No, that's okay. I'm actually kidding. I could give a crap. Listen, you guys, my dry bar comedy special, you go to YouTube, you can check that out there. You go to bobzany.net, check it out there, see where I'm headed next.
Yes, sir.
The dry bar special, millions upon millions. Please watch it and share it and like it. That's really important, I hear. Like it.
Yeah.
But, I have over 8.5 million views on YouTube alone and over 12 likes. So this is really building.
Well, Bob, we love you,
it's
man.
like 120,000. Who cares?
We're lucky to be able to talk to you. And when are you at Porky's again so we can make sure?
I'm going to be there in November. I believe it's the 21st, 22nd, but we have time to fix that and post.
Okay.
And they got some great shows until then, so check that out. And I'll be talking again in a month.
Yes, sir.
If Tom allows it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He loved it.
I see Tom at the focus group going, nah, it didn't work.
No. Don't let his face.
There's no focus or group.
I know.
We'll talk to you soon, man.
I understand. You guys are the best. Talk to you in a month.
See you, Bob. See you, dude. That's Bob Zany out on the road, taking time to zoom in from us.
That's old school radio. You're in 10 minutes. Yeah, that's it.
He knows. He gave us a tight 12, man. He gave us a tight 12. We actually stretched it out a little bit. You notice? He probably threw a couple of jokes off the side of it because we were the ones that wasted 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Tight 12 and he's out.
You're like, you don't need to say anything. It's just you just sit there and I do the thing.
Let's go back to your idea for a second because you take a lot of heat on this show for having dumb ideas. And I'm going to tell you right now, I am one of the only people that doesn't think your ideas are dumb, and that's why I'm still here, okay? And I think this idea of going full radio is goddamn genius. No one's doing that. All radio shows are trying to be podcasts. And everybody else has a podcast. And you hit the nail on the head. When Hawk Tua gets a podcast, what are we supposed to do to set ourselves apart? I got the idea. We got to go and find the comedians that aren't selling tickets that are able to call into our show for free and tell us jokes that aren't funny and put that on the radio. And that's going to do it.
Now, it may be the horse salesman in New York when the automobile industry exploded.
Yeah.
And he walked out in Times Square and he's like, it's all cars now. There's only one horse. And then he's like, there's a market for horses. And then he's mistaken. But it is more rare to have a radio show by, almost 1,000 to 1 now.
It's also more rare to use candlelight every night. It's kind of the same argument, is it not?
But I I was watching Bob Zany do his Zany report on Bob and Tom.
He's done it he's literally done it over 10,000 times, I think.
And then it's weird because it shocked me back to morning radio when I'm watching Bob and Tom and they're sitting.
There's an energy to it, right?
There's the producers in a separate room. Yeah. Everybody's in a separate room,
yeah.
which is unique to radio.
We should have done that here. I think our employees would still be here if we had separate rooms. Yeah. If Sam had been in a separate room, she'd still be here. If Butler had been in a separate room, they'd still be here. Tony, he passed away. People don't know that.
Do you think that that podcasts will have the same evolution as, because I'm sure radio started out all in the same room, and then slowly but surely after 100 years, they separated into rooms, and then the peak radio in the 90s, everybody's in a separate bulletproof room.
That was always for fidelity, right?
Yeah, so you couldn't hear. I think it's so they could talk ass about each other.
That's what I did. I was like, this guy's nuts. I can't wait to quit this hunk of crap.
Then you just go back into doing the show.
I like you. It's not true. It's not true. But
it works.
You're like, and we'll be right back with Tom and Dad. And you click, and you're like, God damn, I hate that guy. And then you go back and you're like, you're the funniest. I love all your ideas, including your radio one. I like you.
Maybe we should put a piece of glass in between us and start separating.
Hold on, I like this idea.
What if I started going in the other room and we put a piece of glass in
Well, our original idea was to cut a hole in the wall directly behind you. People can see it right under you. We're going to cut a hole right there. That way I could be in here and you could be in your office, because I don't think people understand the way that our studio is set up when we get in here in the mornings. I come into the main studio, set it up, and then I kind of use this as my home base, whereas you go into the business office and kind of use that as your home base. We're in separate rooms most of the day, and we don't talk unless we're on the air. Right?
No, we do a little chit-chat.
A little bit. It's usually us bitching about our families, right? We bitch about our families a little bit.
I'll come in here with a cockamamie idea that I'll talk myself out of at the end of the conversation.
Yeah.
I'll be like, how about we do this? And then I'm like, no.
I usually present some sort of song to you as like an offering, and then you'll like it, but then I'll hate it. You know what I mean? Like it's already effed out in my mind, and I absolutely hate it.
Didn't Bob and Tom end up doing their show and someone moved to an island?
Yeah, I think they did. I think one of them.
Do they still do a show?
Damn it! If Bob Zany wasn't such a pro and had not pieced out, we could have picked his brain about Bob and Tom. I'm going to email him about that. We said, look, dude, we're doing this a little differently. You don't have to give us the straight 12. In fact, I'll let you talk. Bob, I'll give you a full hour. What do you want, buddy? But he could explain to us. But yes, one of them moved away. A lot of big-time radio guys have done this. Tom Joyner did this. I think for the Tom Joyner morning show, he went and would be at his home studio, and his entire cast would come into the studio and do the show, but he was never there. He was at his home.
Yeah. It's like a news junkie right now.
I know. I was going to make some call. I was going to say how insulting that is. Then I was like, don't say that.
Yeah. But I guess if your cadence is, it would be harder for me and you. And we've talked about it. That would be the ultimate, I guess, dream job in talk radio or talk show or podcast is to do your podcast from your home and wherever you want.
Well, you and I are crazy. And let me. We're jaded and weird. We look at the radio show with such different eyes than most people do. Like they just flipped up the shows down there in Tampa at the Bone. And there are I went and looked to see what the lineup is. Drew's over there, and John Senning, his producer, is now getting his own show. And you look, and then you've got these younger guys. And you and I thought this is dead. We don't think about this. But you got younger guys that are being slid into these producer spots that would have been like me sliding into producing the Monsters or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And they're literally holy crap, I did it. I'm finally doing morning radio, or I'm finally doing radio. And it's crazy that we've been doing this for so long, even on our own terms, where I can't even wrap my brain around that idea.
Yeah. Well, because and that's where people, I think, misunderstand.
And that's not shade because like that's Tampa's a bigger market, and that's a definitely a hard thing to do. But there are people still getting radio jobs that are excited to get radio jobs.
100%.
It's just not a lot of them.
Well,
you know?
but I think anybody that's trying to get an audience, because it's still an aspect of, hey, this company that's established is putting you on a show at a time slot, and presenting and showing their audience.
It's a validation, right? It's belief.
Yeah, but they're also exposing their audience that are tuned in every day to a new person. So you would love that opportunity. You'd also love the opportunity to get on any big network of any kind, like to get on a big podcast network or a network of another show. I've been seeing this lately in like the sports podcasts I listen to. That now, like, and it's all becoming big corporate anyway.
Yeah.
It's funny because it's never going to be, the bigger podcasts are always going to restructure and become more corporate because that's what capitalism does, right?
Sure.
It's like you want to make more money and get bigger.
The capitalistic goal is not, yes.
You know what I'm saying? So they're always going to take, like, Rogan or some of your biggest shows, and then you get a sales team, you get a marketing team, and then with that, to grow the network, because that's all it is, selling commercials, is then you start exposing new shows to that audience. So I've seen podcasts where they start releasing different shows in their own feed and say, hey, you might like this. And it's the network's attempt to build the popularity of other shows. Where that becomes difficult is this happened to Barstool and Dave Portnoy.
Yeah.
And it was a big lawsuit back in the day. Remember when he started promoting that it was this chick's podcast.
Call Your Daddy podcast.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
And then his argument was, like, we put her on, she blew up. And then she was like, well, I'll just do this on my own. Do it on my own.
Right.
And he's like, no, well, hold on. I exposed you to my audience.
We see this in advertising.
Yeah.
All the time. Like, we have had, we're very lucky that we haven't had this happen very, very often. But in radio, you will have a client come to you. They'll buy. It'll work. And then they'll realize that, like, oh, well, like, it's working. So maybe I'll just pull back and just let the residual of what I did just keep going.
Yeah.
It's
the only difference between that and this is that once that person has downloads and the audience knows about the show and likes it, the audience will just go and download it anywhere else. Like, it doesn't need to be in the feed necessarily. And maybe there's a certain, like...
it's not their business deal. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it becomes, like, non-competes. That becomes real muddy because how are you going to do a non-compete in podcasting? Because once it's on the internet, it's global. So we've been all through this and stuff. So it's like with the old school radio model, it's like, all right... If we give you a chance to get on this local Central Florida market, then you have a non-compete. You can't work anywhere in this market for X amount of years, right? And that was the way they did it. But now, because of the internet's global, then it becomes
the world
almost
changed.
impossible.
Yeah, it changed.
But then how do you lock down those shows? And maybe those shows just realize, it's better to partner with a bigger market that has a sales force and stuff than do it on my own because it's too hard.
It's because it's not a guaranteed home run. Like, if you're going to go somewhere, they funded you, and then you're going to take it and do it on your own, you better damn sure make sure that you know how to do what they did.
Yeah, and because then you have to now have your own salespeople, your own promotional people, and just like better to partner with someone that has all that, just funnels you the commercials, and then you just have to worry about your show.
Yeah.
Just like old school radio. It's like they used to only, nowadays, like me and Daniel, we do everything. We wear all hats: engineering, sales, marketing, events, everything.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And
branding.
We have people that help us, but it's our decision ultimately, which doesn't happen in any other entertainment industry. It's usually the quote unquote talent. That's just what they call it. Just has to worry about putting on the entertainment.
Yeah.
And everybody else works the business. You got a sales force, you got a promotions, you got managers, and that's the corporate structure.
And that's what kind of keeps it moving along.
Yeah. And then so it's like, and I think about this too, because like if me and you partnered with a bigger company that just fed us commercials, that may be easier. But then it does take away some of the
autonomy of picking your own commercials, the relationship with the client.
control.
Well, what I would say, just to pipe in here, is the weaker side of the business part, because I'm not in there all the time. Is that I think that wouldn't work as well for us, because effectively the relationship that you and Tracy seem to have with our clients is way more important to me as the other side than just somebody feeding me commercials and I read it. There's no value in that. That doesn't help me have a relationship with like Modern Plumbing or with our friends at,
Mo.
like Mo DeWitt. Exactly. Like those are relations, like our advertising is way different. Sorry, we're going heavy business.
No.
No, I like this though. It's fun. It's fun.
It just shows you that, and there's no right way to do it, but with podcasts trying to expose themselves to a different audience.
No, but you're right.
Because you can't just start a podcast and get instantly popular. That's the insane rarity. It's like a one-hit wonder. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
How do you make a one-hit wonder? Well, it's impossible to set out for that to be your goal and you hit it every time. You can't, you know what I'm saying?
No.
It's random.
It won't work.
And so, but what is possible is for you to make a song that a lot of radio stations and other people are willing to play and promote, and then it exposes it to lots of millions of ears. And so without that exposure, it is hard to get to the next level to make any money. So you need, so if you're an up and coming any entertainer or talk show or whatever, you want the iHeart to give you your show so you could expose you to an audience so that you have any power at all. Because without the people listening, there's no power.
There's nothing.
And you have nothing. You can't sell anything. You can't make any money.
And that's what I mean. It is a nothing. Going back to what you were saying, and to stay on old school radio and the stuff that I liked, there are some things in old school radio that I personally was never able to do that I would like to bring to the show.
Okay.
A couple of things.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to. This is purely selfish, and you can crap on this if you want. This is what this is for. I want to give away a car. I want to give away a motorcycle. I have always wanted to give somebody, and they have to. I want to give a motorcycle to someone who's not going to ride it. Like I want to give. I want to give a $23,000 Harley Davidson Electra Glide to a morbidly obese white lady that can't ride it. She can't ride it,
and she never will.
Never will. And then so she takes the payout.
Yeah.
I want to do that. I want to give away a car, man.
Yeah.
I want to do
to someone who doesn't deserve it.
Exactly. To a
doesn't even need it.
Piece of ass. Just a horrible. Like I don't even need a car. I'm rich. Give him a car. You know how many times that happened? Oh, tons. Just tons of times. We've been giving away motorcycles, and some guy's like, I don't need this crap.
Because they're worried, because the corporate is super concerned about doing it fairly and doing it by the book, right?
But why?
Just because they have to.
Because that's the way.
Because without, they have a possibility of being sued. Everything with big corporations is about not getting sued.
Let's do teeth for Christmas next Christmas. We've got enough time if we start doing it now. Let's give away. How many sets could we get?
Teeth is hard.
How many sets? One good set?
Like
one good set of teeth? Full teeth. I want to do a full mouth extraction, full big Buseys, full big Gary Delabates.
You know what? I'm surprised.
Let's give away something crazy. Let's give away a breast augmentation. That's it. That's it. Hold on. I did it. We're giving away a breast augmentation and a labiaplasty. Do you know what that is? A labiaplasty?
I have an idea, but I'm not sure what the plasty is.
Yeah, I'll tell you later. I'll tell you off the air. So we're giving away. Oh, the chat room's saying T's and teeth. That's
okay.
EJ, that's one of the better things you've ever said, dude.
Like
what are you on Ginkgo biloba this morning? Like
an extreme makeover?
Yeah. Let's do the swan. Tom and Dan present the swan. We give you hair. We give you boobs. We give you a labiaplasty. We give you medical guided weight loss.
I know that we are older now, so we're
medical marijuana.
We're not. That we could do.
We'll give you medical marijuana.
But I don't hear too much about people getting breast augmentations.
No, it's more popular than it's ever been.
That's what I would think so.
Children are getting it done.
It's just.
Well, that was under Biden. Trump's going to shut it down. But
it's gotten easier, I imagine. Yeah. But is the popularity still there? Because in the '90s, that's it all was.
We're back there. We're back.
Boob jobs.
Oh, we're back to boob jobs, baby. I think we're back.
I just don't.
People don't talk about it
see
as much.
Oh, they hide
And
it.
I think people want a subtle. You want a subtle boob job. You don't you don't want to get the big old grand tetons. You don't. You don't go get the Dixie Dynamite.
It just you make them better. It's like more of a lift, a resculpture.
Yeah, it's more of a freshening.
How much are we talking?
For
Because
a good one?
Back in the day, it was like $5,000.
For a good one, about 8.
8,000.
And that's not even the best. That's mid range. I feel like that's a couple trim levels down.
And where is a local plastic surgery center that does that? They're
all
over, right?
There's a bunch near you.
Yeah,
Castleberry got a ton of plastic surgery. I mean, they're making people look great again in Castleberry. That's their slogan.
We need to talk to a plastic surgeon and just that's a good weird job Wednesday. If someone knows a plastic surgeon,
Wait a minute, I don't want to do a weird. No, I don't want to do a weird job. I want to give away a breast augmentation. I'm coming to you with $1 million idea.
Well, it's only $1 million idea if the plastic surgeon wants to advertise with us.
He will. Tracy's on it. Tracy's already on it.
All right.
Oh, Kupo Jace says we give away a breast augmentation for a woman, and we do a breast reduction for a fat man. That's not bad.
Okay, all right. But
I feel like we are inching into Buckethead territory with some of these ideas.
That's
and,
what
and then
sounds.
I'm going to get an email from him because he's back in town. He's stealing my ideas.
I do like the idea of someone like morbidly obese, like EJ, that only reducing his breasts. So
the rest of him's still fat.
Yeah, that he has like a bird chest, but big fat everywhere else.
A bird pair.
Yeah.
Bird on the top, hair on the bottom.
But it's all ribs, like you see his ribs. And I guess saggy.
Yeah, and a big fat pear ass.
All right.
Did you know the only pants that a big fat pear ass like EJ can wear are Carhartts? Did you know that? Carhartts, home of the pear ass.
All right, let's take a break. We'll be right back with more Corporate Time. Welcome to Corporate Time with Tom and Dan. I'm Tom.
I am Dan. We are live on Twitch and YouTube right now, and we'd love for you to join us. Just go to either of those sites and search at Tom and Dan Live, like and subscribe. That's what the people say.
And this Saturday at one of our brand new watering holes, 1010 Brewery, which we've known Mike, the owner of 1010, for a lot of years.
He gave us a shot when nobody else would, and we were like, hey, we don't have any money, and we need some beer. And Mike was like, hey, I'm a distributor. This keg fell off the truck.
Yeah. And we watched him start his brewery.
And we watched him start his brewery, kind of like we started this show, and it's really good to see him. He's really kicking butt, man.
And this Saturday, they're doing an amateur rib contest, live music, beer, of course, delicious 1010 beer, charity raffle, and you can eat some delicious ribs.
Yeah.
And that is this Saturday, January 11th at 1010 Brewery. So let's get into some Weird Jobs.
All right, buddy. It is time for the Weird Job Wednesday theme song.
What is this one?
It's a listener sent in one.
Oh, okay.
It's real bad. But this is a little bop, right? This is a bop.
I don't remember. I remember we used to play listener submitted ones before AI.
When I mess up, we're back to doing it, right? Here we go.
Tom had a crazy idea.
Oh God.
Oh, for a brand new Tom and Dan bit. Daniel totally loved it.
I picked the wrong one, didn't I? Yeah, let's go ahead and say that out. Yeah, I did pick the worst one. I did.
Why is it even saved?
I don't know. I can't even understand what that man is saying.
Parentheses bad, the worst one we've ever had.
Yeah, that is the worst one. I have a feeling that our listeners are gonna really wear me out for this one. But hey, why don't you introduce our guest, sir?
So we have the brand new executive director of the Orange County Regional History Center, Azalea Santana. How you doing, Azalea?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Thanks for being here.
So now
I'm glad you didn't say her name the way I was going to say it. I was going to blow it.
So let's talk about how you became the executive director of the History Center, because it's a pretty interesting job, which I really don't even I know what an executive director kind of is, kind of like the CEO, maybe. But
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong. Like
I was also kind of peeping your LinkedIn a little bit, and you've had some pretty cool jobs. I mean, you've done some stuff.
Yeah.
And one of them being, like curating privately. That sounds truly insanity to me, and sounds super fun and cool. So, hey, nice to meet you, and thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Well, it's a very interesting profession. I think for me, I've always loved being in arts and culture. And so going to the History Center has been one of my dreams, to be able to be involved in working with collections directly and working with exhibitions and the awesome staff that we have. Scotty's here today with us. And so we're really excited. But I have a very interesting, unusual way that I went into being in my current job today. Like, I went to University of Florida, was my undergrad. My actual degree is actually art history and studio art.
Cool.
I got a master's in business because I really wanted to see, just have a degree that I think could be universal for a lot of different professional fields. And then it was a lot of fun. I met my husband in college. I really wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with an art history degree. Usually you go into teaching, you go into curatorial work.
I was doing a music degree. You get made fun of a lot.
Yeah.
Like your friends that have degrees that they feel are more, I don't know, worthy or valuable. They are like, music guy. Huh? Then I chose like radio, and that's even worse than music, I found out.
When my sons maybe eventually go to college and they choose an art degree, I'm going to be like, no! I mean, that may be wrong to
and
say.
all
but
of my friends did like your degree. Like
It's
all
funny.
of my friends were artists.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that because I went to UF as a pre-med major. I was going to go into medicine.
That's what I'll be real mad.
Yes.
They go into college to be a doctor,
You did the
and I'm like, yes.
switch? Oh, no, you did the switch?
And they're like, I'm switching to art. I'm like, oh, no, no.
That's the 180, right? When you're going the med lane.
I'm like,
and
it'd be better if you just
Yes.
stopped at all.
And then you just throw it in reverse and put a beret on.
It's
Oh
true.
my
It's
God.
true. I had to break the news to my parents. My parents are from the Philippines, and so
They must have
they
been
were
mad.
they were like, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a doctor. What are you going to go into? And then pre-med was the route that I was going to take, and then I switched majors my junior year of college.
Oh,
Yes.
that
Oh
long
my
into it?
God. Oh my
Yes.
God, I did that too. I transferred my junior year. Oh, we got a lot in common.
Yes.
You can make your parents mad doing
Yes.
stuff like that. I went from
Yes.
Flagler private school. I'm like, I'm going to UCF radio. Oh.
Yep. Yeah. So it was what was really the entree for me switching majors is I was in a dance and medicine course. It was offered. UF has a really wonderful arts and medicine program. And it was
It's
sort
called
of
dance and medicine.
Well, it was a class. It was a
Okay,
class as
all
part of the arts
But
and
I'm on
medicine
my
program.
medicine. I'm dancing.
Yeah. And because I was a former dancer, I was in a dance company when I was in high school, and so I thought this would be a fun class to take. It was a great elective for my pre-med track.
Yeah.
And ended up switching altogether. It was like my entree into thinking more about the arts, and then I ended up minoring in visual arts, and then that became a whole major. So for me, it was really a segue into really finding what I truly loved and not necessarily the path that I thought I should have taken.
So you needed to
Yeah.
hear this, and I'm going to tell you why.
Yeah.
He's obsessed and concerned with his sons finding that right thing.
Yeah.
And for some people that are highly successful, currently in front of us, they take a little bit of time to wander the scape to figure out what they're going to do. They don't have to have it figured out immediately.
Yeah.
I just want to point out success stories here to help your anxiety. Because he is sort of obsessed with the wanderer, the person that when they do go to UF and their first major, they don't like. When I first got to Flagler, I didn't declare. I didn't know. I didn't know what I wanted to
Now,
do.
there's a little difference between my sons, the eternal wanderers, and you, who just got into one thing, achieved, and then achieved the next thing, and then I'm going to achieve at this, achieve. There's an achievement aspect of this that is like, well, as long as you achieve at everything you do, you'll be fine. But if you just keep wandering and never even pick anything you want to do, like, what do you want to do? I don't know. Anyway, sorry. Because it does sound like you are an achiever and you are a dancer, and then you're like, pre-med. Even all of my friends, including me, pre-med was never even on the table. Like, no one even jokes, even had the fantasy. We never even thought that being a doctor was at all possible. You might have but like I want to ride the dragon from Neverending Story. It would be the same as saying I want to become a doctor.
Actually, there are some replicas of Falcor, I believe.
You're right.
We can make that happen.
That's closer.
It is easier to do that.
Easier than being a doctor.
There's like a guy like out in Eustis that actually has one of the last movie quality white mega dog.
Wow.
Whatever they are.
You know, this it's interesting because now you end up being the executive director of the History Center and having a diversified background in a lot of different areas does make you uniquely qualified to be because the history, like, you know, history is broad. You know, it's not just you know, like if you.
Well, it's also good and bad too. I mean, there's like sometimes you're doing exhibits on stuff that it's like this is something that we're remembering because it's not good, and then you're doing stuff on hey, we're remembering this because we can't let it be forgotten because it's so incredibly awesome and people don't value it anymore.
But,
you know,
but it is also it's the history of art, a history of science, is all history. It encompasses everything. So having like kind being a Renaissance woman with knowing a little bit about everything does make it probably easier to, you know, just understand the concept of like, all right, we need to celebrate the history of everything. You know,
do you have a favorite style of art that, like, when you were studying?
Oh, it's so funny.
question.
We had this question earlier, and I can't say. It's like asking what's your favorite artist. I think for me, I do gravitate more towards contemporary art. You know, when I was at the Orlando Museum of Art, I was an associate curator there, and I had so much fun working with like living artists and really curating shows that really resonated to the community. And that's just what I love, like learning more about like what were they thinking when they painted this, or what was the thought process in developing their specific process. So I would say contemporary art is really my favorite, but I really do have an appreciation with the classics, you know?
Now, if you ask me my favorite artist, it's Snoop Dogg. Easy. Here's why. Because when I first saw Snoop Dogg, it was murder was the case. He was convicted of murder. And then in 2024, Snoop Dogg, the mascot of the United States Olympics. He has a range.
He does have a range.
And that's an unbelievable artist to me.
You're actually saying something that's actually quite serious. The artist for all of Snoop Dogg's albums, especially his legendary breakthrough Doggy Style, he just passed away like at the end of 2024.
No, really?
Yeah, and he is like a legendary guy. And if anybody in Orlando, any of our art partners that we work with, because we are the center of art in Orlando, Tom and Dan, we got to get this Snoop Dogg. We got to get this guy's collection into our town.
Do you know
because
his
he
name?
has all the album. Yeah, I'd have to Google it, but yeah, I'll Google it. But
Very important.
Yeah, I'll get the name for you. I'll write it down. I promise. We got to get that guy. We got to get those Snoop Dogg pictures in here, man.
Now, Azella, what even made you decide that this was a job that you'd want to do? Because I know that for like the past 10 years, you're going to work for yourself, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so when I had the major that I did, I graduated with art history. It was one of those situations where, well, what am I going to do with it, right? I ended up, you know, wanting to do something that I realized I was more of a social person. You know, at some point, I did an internship in art conservation. You know, I had this degree. I also had some science background with my coursework as an undergrad student, and thought maybe I could test art, you know, art conservation. Did an internship. Highly recommend internships because it tells you whether or not you like something or you don't. And I realized it was not as I'm a social person. I like to be around people. I like to interact and like collaborate. And it was a very much like you're in your studio, you're working really closely with the objects. And as much as I love that I was very detail oriented, it was something that I knew I couldn't do for the rest of my life. You know, I needed a little bit more complexity in my professional, you know, career. And so for me, I moved back to Orlando. My husband and I moved back to Orlando, and was able to get my foot in the door at the Orlando Museum of Art. And that was really my entree into working in museums. And I realized I loved it. I worked with the kids. I worked in the education department.
Awesome.
I was a docent. So I allowed me to kind of learn all the aspects of working in education. But really kind of set the tone as to like, this is what I want to do, you know, and learning about, you know, how to curate exhibitions and how to work with partners across the board. and just really solidified my love for working in a museum. And so that's kind of essentially where I ended up here. You know, I was at UCF for 10 years, loved it. You know, the University of Central Florida was just a really great university. There was a lot of collaborations happening, and it really kind of built a lot of the opportunity for me to learn more about collaborations from a larger scale, but also how it's connected to education, and developed a lot of really great relationships there. And
That's
so for me, the History Center was sort of like that next step to really see how all those components come together with my curatorial background and then philanthropy background, and then obviously working in education. It was really a great opportunity to see what I can do, you know, and really work with a wonderful team. And the staff is amazing. You know, Orange County government is just a really wonderful place to work at. And I'm just excited to be able to see what I can do with the team.
Well, just after talking to you for 5 minutes, I'd hire you to be the president of this company.
I'd hire you to be the president of anything. My God. I feel very confident that with anything you tell me. You're like, do this. I'm like, yes, ma'am. I'm like, oh, yeah.
You mentioned you were a docent, and I was like, oh, my God, I'm too dumb to even understand what that is. I can't even guess what that is.
You said that, too, and I was like, docent. I was like, Trayson? I was,
no. Like, I don't even, what is a docent?
So a docent is essentially someone who's trained. Sometimes it's a volunteer. Usually it's a volunteer. A lot of our arts and cultural organizations, especially museum institutions, rely on docents to help give and provide tours to educate the public about its collections, about its temporary exhibitions.
Oh, we need a docent here in the studio.
The intern.
We need a hot 24-year-old docent giving tours of this place.
Yes.
Get out there, give a tour.
So it's an intern.
Yeah, there's people at the door. Take them and show them the bathroom. There's a lot of famous signatures in there. That's where the tour would conclude. We're gonna need a gift shop. We're gonna need a gift shop.
Yeah.
Exit through the gift shop. I've seen it.
I've seen it.
Yeah. It's like when
Mr. Paintbrush, or what is it? Mr. Brainwash.
Brainwash.
Yeah, Mr. Paintbrush.
Mr. Paintbrush.
Oh my God, I'm becoming dumb.
That might be Snoop Dogg's artist.
Yeah, Mr. Paintbrush. Yeah, that's him.
So you worked at a museum, the Orlando Art Museum, and then
We love those guys.
And then, what are some of, like, I'm sure when you came over to the History Center, you thought to yourself, like, what am I gonna bring? You know, like, if I was a new, like, executive director, first thing, clean house.
You have to. You have to.
Wait a second.
You have to.
Sorry, Scotty.
Sorry, Scotty's not gonna like this, but you have to.
I'm trying to get your job.
You
now.
also have to let.
She's way better of a boss than I am.
Much like Rex Ryan, who is super confident that he's going to get that Jets gig again. He has said that he ain't going to let old Aaron Rodgers, if he comes back, do this whole, like, I ain't coming to practice because I got an ayahuasca hangover. He is going to say that ain't going to fly.
Yeah. By the way, I like how he's like, you know what? The Jets were bad 20 years ago when I was the coach. I'm going to be bad again when 20
I'm
years
coming
later.
back, baby.
I'm like, what is that going to do?
I have a question for you. What is the absolute? So what's the patient one starting point? How do you curate? Like, how do you even start when somebody comes and they have a collection and they want to like, how do you even? Is it like selecting songs on a set list? Like a band would do? Like, how do you present it in the right order so you're telling the story that the artist is trying to tell with their collection? It seems like something that maybe you don't ever think you got right.
No, I mean, I think it obviously depends on the type of exhibitions you're curating. You know, obviously I'm at the History Center, so you think about the objects that you have in your collection if you're curating from your collection. But I think every curator is different. Every curator has their own style, and they also have their own, like, interests, right? And so for me, when I was curating, you know, when I was at the OMA, I started curating some small exhibitions of works of artists living in the community. And it was a small little gallery space. It was free to the public. And it was more about showcasing their work as an artist and their process. But I think every curator, when they're looking at objects, they're looking at an idea. And a lot of it stems from an idea, you know, or maybe it's a subject matter that they want to present through the curation of an exhibition, you know, and that could mean bringing in different artists. It could be bringing different objects and working with writers to kind of see like how's the best way to present this material. And I feel like, especially in Central Florida, we have so many talented curators in our community, so many arts and culture organizations that are doing really cool work. I highly encourage, although I'm at the History Center and I want to promote the History Center as much as I can, I feel like there's so much opportunity to be able to see and witness a lot of the different exhibitions that pinpoint a lot of different things and facets about Central Florida. And I think for me,
you nailed it. Like what we've learned in working with a lot of art partners, including the History Center, is that once you go to one, you want to go to the others and support them all. It becomes that sort of thing. And because these are things that especially with our show, what I've heard with our listeners is that we really overlooked, and I think most people do, but you really overlook these type of institutions within your community and how much of a value, how cheap some of the things you can do, some of the free things they offer that you don't take advantage of, like the Thursdays and stuff like that, where you can go and you can like do something you've never ever done before, and you're not really, you're not in. You're not like feeling bad later because you were $70 in,
Right.
It's also, I've found recently, and we'll talk about the history of punk rock and what you guys are doing coming up. Because when I saw, we were talking about you bringing in someone from the Punk Rock Museum from Vegas.
Yeah,
So me and Daniel
huge.
remember when it opened.
Yeah, we did.
So when I start seeing like super interesting things that I'm interested in, like the history of punk rock, because I remember, and then it reminds me how old I'm getting because now, the Orange County Regional History Center is bringing up history that I'm interested in, because I think people you grow up and when you're young, you look at history like, why are these people interested in all this history? And then all of a sudden you get to middle age and then you're now
Because you're
a
too
part
busy
of it.
making it.
And then you're like, I remember that in my 20s. Like this
Well, when
was,
you slow down,
I'm
you're
part
making
of
less
this.
history, right?
Yeah,
Like you're kind of
yeah.
enjoying what was made.
And then there's human psychology around history becoming more important as you age, which is interesting too. I remember I brought my sons down to Marco Island, and their great grandparents are a part of Marco Island's local history museum down there, and they've got a room dedicated to them, and because they were such a part of building that community. And I was my sons, they're 9 and 10, and they don't have the perspective yet to appreciate.
Like to me, I'm like, holy
that.
crap, that's insane. Your grandparents, your great grandparents have a room dedicated to them in the History Center of Marco Island. And the kids are like,
because
whatever.
Because they can't even comprehend it because they're not old enough to
No
have the
concept.
life experience to appreciate something like that. And I feel like you get to an age where you're like, oh, now I could truly appreciate what is being shown to me in the history, because you start
I have to. I'm dying.
You're a part of
I'm dying. I have to appreciate this stuff before I die.
Yeah. And so I'm sure there's and I'm sure you guys have seen that too. There's a certain age where people really truly appreciate it more.
Are you still are you seeing younger people? What would you guys say?
Oh my gosh.
I would say that, but more what I've observed, it's just been a year and a half for me there at the History Center, but one of the things that I've observed is what Tom is talking about, where people begin to realize they are living history. They have lived history, and it's one of the things we've come on the show to talk about. Orlando Collected. I think that's going to be something we'll be emphasizing there, is that these objects, people had them in their attic, in their closet, and since I've been at the History Center, I've donated things that were personal belongings, an NSYNC ticket. I was at the last ever NSYNC concert, things like that you wonder why you were holding on to it, and then it turns out,
my wife was at that.
Well, it's like the Music Mayhem. It's like,
yes,
so many local people live that.
Exactly.
We know Jim, and there's so many. I was like,
people
it's
I
a part
know.
of this.
Yeah.
You start remembering. I remember when the Descendants came into town, and you start looking at flyers, and you're like, and you're truly a part of it. But then it makes you feel old because you're like, it's 25 years ago. 25 years.
Yeah. There's that too.
But
we are
it's important, and you appreciate it.
Well, it's an earmark. I like that selfishly, I know that in the last couple of years, Tom and I've had the opportunity to work more with you guys.
Yeah.
And selfishly, I like it because it gives me the opportunity to almost slow down, and I get to like see my own city like propped up, like things that I don't want forgotten.
Absolutely,
You know,
yeah.
like the figurehead and stuff that we've been a part of. That I look at it and I'm like, man, it's a good thing that this is here. You know, because I'm the type of person where if something's very sad to me, or like when my parents passed away, I kind of took all those memories, I sold everything, I just got it out. But that was wrong. It was probably not the right thing to do, you know? Like I look back on that now and I'm like, oh man, maybe I should have just had somebody else do it. You know, like because it needed to probably be handled properly.
Right.
Not just flush it down the toilet kind of thing. You know? So I don't know. There's my, Jerry's final thought.
So if we're kind of doing a weird job, and being the executive director of a history center is kind of weird.
It is very weird. It's a positive thing.
Yeah. No, it's unusual.
It's unique.
It's unique. Whereas I've only met
I've
one.
met one of one.
Yeah. But
with a cool name. So it's like,
do you talk to other executive directors of other history centers that are regional and find out what they're doing?
like
Or
swap ideas.
Is there like a collective of executives that are like, hey, this is what all the different Florida history centers are doing, and they all kind of do, or is it every man for himself?
Or do you want to be the best and crush all the other ones?
I would say I'm very collaborative, and there is sort of a consortium where executive directors can reach out to each other, especially when you're in a position where you're really overseeing an organization and you want the best for that organization, and the exchange of ideas, like what's happening over there, like how can we collaborate? Are there ways that we can make a larger impact through partnership? And I think in the Central Florida, it's been so welcoming. I worked at the University of Central Florida, I worked at the OMA, and every time with those organizations, it's always been an opportunity to work with the leadership to kind of learn more about what's been happening in their organization and how can we work together. And that's what I love about it. That's what I love about Orlando. I think, I have 2 daughters, and so, for me, it's helping to kind of cultivate that next generation. Of kids that are going to grow up in Orlando. But I feel like there is a huge support system in our organization. And for me, there's a lot of learning. We're growing fast, and we have such amazing leadership. We're currently in a campaign right now with United Arts, and Jennifer Evans is an amazing leader and has been really connecting all the organizations together universally. And so for us and for myself, being able to kind of confide and, have conversations with other executive directors within the community has been really critical. And it's a lot of fun. I like to learn about what they're doing. I like to, learn more about, where can we grow together as a community.
I wonder what they would do to me if I declared myself Baldwin Park Executive Director of History. I'm the Executive Director of Baldwin Park History.
I think they would say you can have it.
There's literally no, there's a void
Well, it
of
was a
history.
naval
There's great
base.
history here. Actually,
No,
Brendan
the people
is.
here are horrible here.
Brendan is.
Well, have you met any of the people that live around here? Oh my God, they're monsters.
Well, I've met people who work here.
I live here. I live.
Yeah, but they don't want us out of
They
here.
don't want me here. I don't belong here. They hate me. You know what they call me? They call me the hillbilly. They call me the little hillbilly.
We put out a magazine twice a year called Reflections, and the 2 issues for 2025 are going to be Orlando centric. And so we've asked Brendan, my other half, Brendan O'Connor, to write a piece about Baldwin Park, which I still call on. I'm going on Baldwin Park, because to me I was going on the naval training station, and when you would go on base when you were talking about it. But so talking about that whole history, and then how it led into this, and it was one of the things he studied when he was going to Rollins.
There's live ammo everywhere.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
This whole place just
There's
just
bombs
scattered.
in Lake
Yeah,
Baldwin.
there's bombs
That's what I
So
heard.
this is where you live too, right?
I live 1 block outside of Baldwin Park.
Okay, good.
Probably
You should tell
more
people
ammo.
that. You should probably tell people that. Well, live ammo. There's more like right now. Oh, you go that direction? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
matters
Oh,
what
that-
direction. I run around here, and 1 block in some ways are.
Okay. If you go right, if you're going right, you run fast. If you go left, you're
What I like about Florida history is that if you go back far enough, underwater.
Yeah.
so there's that actual start. It was like, oh, dry, and then I was starting to say,
and here we go. Put your hat on. Hey, thanks so much for coming in
Oh
today.
my gosh,
You were
thanks
so
for
fun.
having me.
This is awesome. I'm really excited for you guys. This is going to be cool, man.
Yeah, no,
It's always cool to get like new, young, cool people in there to like kick ass.
And Scotty, let's talk about some of the upcoming events.
Yeah.
Sure.
In January, because me and Daniel, when we saw that I guess is it the director of the Punk Rock Museum?
He's one of the founders.
One of the founders.
And I also was in Less Than Jake.
Yes.
But he's one
founding
of the
member.
founders who's going to, and he's from, lives up north in Florida. Jeremy Heilman, who was the curator of Figurehead, he made this connection, and
Is
we're
that
going to
the
have a program.
That
manager?
dude's got the juice, man.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
just calling all the favorites.
Is that the manager we met
Yes.
when Les and Jake was playing
Yes.
the Orlando City?
the guy that
yeah.
is in the thing that was sent over? We've met that guy. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
yeah,
we
yeah.
know. We don't know him, but we met him. Yeah.
And that'll be January 18th. That is part of admission. So when you pay admission to the History Center that day, you can go to that program. Before that, related to Figurehead, we're going to have Bootleg TV, which was this TV show during that time that was dedicated to the music scene. And this guy has like all this footage of film from that time period. And that's going to be shown. And I believe he's going to be speaking about it as well.
So like,
but that's going to be on
concert footage, or-
Thursday, so that's free, as you guys know.
Absolutely.
After 5 o'clock, we're free, and you get to see that as part of it. This is all winding down because February 2nd is going to be the last day for Figurehead, so don't delay and come see us.
Yeah, and Scotty brings up a great point. Every third Thursday, it's free, admission's free after 5 o'clock.
Yeah, and we're open till 9.
Yeah, and so you get 4 hours to explore the Orange County Regional History Center.
It's awesome.
And then just become a member. That's the easiest way to do it.
Well, that way you won't miss out when something hits like. And there's going to be a bunch of people that want to see it. You're already taken care
You
of.
also get this cool card that you can just whip out at parties, and people will be
I do
like,
that all the
wow,
time.
look at you.
I do that. Look at this. I do that with everything I belong to. I do that with medical marijuana, bungalow buddy, all of them. I'm like, look,
My bungalow keychain keeps getting stolen. Brendan's always like, hey, give me your keychain.
I got an extra one over there. I got an extra one over there if you want it.
Azella, thanks so much for coming in.
We
really
appreciate
appreciate
it.
it.
Thanks you guys so much.
Thanks for
Scotty,
having us.
So much
Always
fun.
a pleasure, and we can't wait to see what you guys do.
Yeah.
Yep. And we'll talk to you soon, I'm sure, and we'll be right back with more Corporate Time.
Welcome back to A Corporate Time.
Let's do some voicemails.
Yeah, buddy. Voicemails. If you would like to leave us one, 1-844-TOMNDAN. If you call that number, we have a vanity answering service that you can leave a long message for us there, or you can get our free app with all of our content on there. Normally, everything is up to date on there. ACTs are on there. BDM shows are on there. The regular Friday Free Show. You can just go to your app store and download the free Tom and Dan app and leave, just with one click of a button, a message like this one right here. Oh, no, I hit the wrong button. Here we go. Now I'm doing it.
Hey, Tom and Dan, do you ever think like the grandkids of the guy in the Bitter Beer Face commercial try to like impress their friends and tell them that their grandpa was the guy making the bitter beer face in the commercial? I hope so.
Are you familiar with the Bitter Beer Face man? Is he talking about people that have like a grandpa mouth where they can pull their mouth up over their nose?
Oh, like the
That's like a toothless person's carnival trick, right?
Yeah, like Ripley's Believe It or Not old man that they're like, do this in the mirror, and then there's they can see
Try
you.
to
and
make
there's
the
that.
face of this old man. Try to pull your bottom lip over your nose.
So first, the answer
bet
is
Jelly
no because
Roll-
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I bet country music superstar Jelly Roll would love to be able to take his bottom lip and put it over his nose so he could just snot rocket the boogers right into his mouth. Disgusting.
So what's was there a campaign in the? Was that what year was that?
Beer Face man. I'm gonna get some answers here. Okay, I was right. 1995. It's a Keystone Light commercial. There he is. It's the first thing you see. Here, I'll pop this up. So, everybody that's watching us at Tom and Dan on YouTube. And
You're right, but he has no teeth, so he's able to bring his bottom jaw higher because there's no teeth in the way.
Yeah, he's got like a he's like a toothless carnival man, right?
You're waiting for your blind date. You're scanning the room. You've got minty fresh breath.
Looks like EJ.
You're oozing charm. Then it hits you.
Larry?
Don't America's least bitter beer, so there's never a bad taste, never a bitter face.
Commercials were better back in the day. Look at him. He's got a girl with big bazongas. He's dressed like Indiana Jones. He's looking at the mother. I mean, almost cursed. He's dressed like Indiana Jones.
Yeah. It was the 90s.
Oh, way cooler.
90s were a special time.
They really were. I mean, this guy. Oh, there's a little bit more here. Let's see.
Bikini girls.
Stop making faces. Drink Keystone.
That's a funny commercial. Not bad.
Like there was beer and liquor. That's it. That was your only wine. But that it was all beer.
I had no idea it was a Keystone commercial. I was not a Keystone drinker. That's a little.
There was 5 beers. You could have an option.
No, Keystone would have been one of my options because I put it in the category when I was a youthful man and drinking beer. You had your Keystones. You had your Natty Lights. Well, Coors is my favorite beer. Like that's my shop beer.
Yeah.
Like if I have I love craft beer. The craft beer, we all know it's the best tasting. Well, for me it is. But like if I just want to drink beer, it's Coors Light. But Red Dog. Remember Red Dog?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I put that in the Keystone category.
Do they still sell it in a tiny glass jar, or is that Mickey's Big Mouth?
I don't think they sell Red Dog anymore.
Did it come in a little glass like?
No, that's Mickey's Big Mouth. You nailed it. I mean, Mickey's Big Mouth is correct, but I don't believe they sell Red Dog anymore. I don't think that's a thing.
Do you think that any of this generation will be impressed? Like, if we go back and analyze this gentleman's question,
I'm glad you're doing that. This is the second time in 2025 that we've actually followed back around to the question. And for the first 30 years of this podcast, we have never answered anyone's question accurately.
Because back in the 90s, when this commercial came out, having notoriety of any sort, even calling in to request something on the radio used to be exciting because it was the only way to get your voice out there heard by a lot of people if you weren't an entertainer.
Absolutely.
Without going through the insane
some would say it's the reason
process.
Some would say it's the reason Bob Zany came on our show today, right? To get the word out.
And
blowtorch.
So you tell any young person in 2025, this is my grandpa. He was in a commercial for this, and a lot of people saw it. Like, so what? A lot of people saw my viral video I did 2 years ago.
But I'm an old man, so I still value the commercial more.
No, yeah. Old men do.
No, but even if
but young kids, I don't believe value notoriety as much.
Well, what if what's more professional? I mean, like, I just watched a TikTok video of a little girl who is dancing a TikTok video, and then in the background is her nude mother sitting on the toilet. That her mom didn't know she was being videoed, right? Yeah. So you mean to tell me that that's just as valuable as the guy that starred in a Miller Lite commercial? I would say the fact that you had a production team filming it, even if they don't believe it's more powerful, then that's just they're fools.
Well,
this is more of a
it's modern day perception of if you're just talking about,
but it's flawed, isn't it?
Notoriety.
Because we have learned that the most eyes really mean nothing. I mean, where's Hawk Tua now? I don't even think she's doing her podcast anymore, dude. After the crypto dump scheme that she did, she's fallen. Like, she hasn't done any more episodes. There's no more episodes because she fell off.
Well, it's all fleeting, though, too. But I'm just saying more.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
It doesn't mean it used to be valuable and be rare to ever have the opportunity for anybody to know who you are. And now it's like, it's just not as rare because it just scattered all over the place. And views, people have 1 million views on stuff and no one even knows who they are, but they're like, some million people saw you.
What's changed is who we look at, right? So like to go with your argument, if you're in a commercial, since less people watch commercials, You know, it's kind of like the math we were doing on talk radio shows versus podcasts. So, you know, what is it? 4.61 million podcasts, 2,000 between 2,000 and 7,000 talk radio shows in North America.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big difference.
Well, I was telling Max and Tommy there were a video of like Tommy was in that video that got submitted to Only in Dade of the Miami Christmas of
I
Dre
actually
dancing
saw
around.
it on. I went there and saw it before it.
It disappears after a while
because it's a story. But I went there and I gave it hearts, you know, giving it some love.
But before it even, the fact that it disappears it means it's a nothing. But before it disappeared, it had hundreds of thousands of views, right?
Yeah.
So I told Tommy, I'm like, hey, you were on a video that had, you know, that let's say 400,000 people viewed it, and
at
like
least
hundreds of thousands liked it or whatever, you know.
Yeah, it was way up there when I saw it.
And Tommy's like, oh, okay. You know, like,
right.
it's not. He's not like, whoa, you know, because it just.
Max, no, and didn't move the needle.
Well, he wasn't there.
Gotcha. That's right. He was sick.
But but so think about like back in the 90s, if you called in to request a song and then they aired your request or whatever, or you were on the news, it would be a big deal. Like, whoa, it was on the news. And back then, I mean, 20,000 from
I was
a local
in the newspaper.
audience. Newspaper.
I was in the newspaper for playing flute at Stetson University.
You cut it out, and you're like, look at the newspaper.
Yeah. I was there. I was in the newspaper for the first time when I studied flute at Stetson under the Suzuki method. Which is you learn by, you don't really read music, you just memorize notes.
Okay.
And that's how I was trained by the Suzuki method's protege. Like some name, like he was like it's like a Japanese name. Like this guy was like the biggest deal in flute. And he comes to Stetson, and then they had to choose a boy or a girl, I guess. But they had to choose a boy to perform with him on the main stage. And I was selected because I looked like a little angel baby. I had the little white blonde hair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like your boys. I look like Max.
Yeah.
Look at me now, horrible. But I look like Max. I had the time, and I had the little bowl. I had the Will Stranger Things.
Yeah.
And imagine that holding a flute. That'll melt your heart, right? Oh my God, how cute! Like tiny little OP corduroy shorts. I got a tiny little polo on. I'm up there playing with a Japanese flute master. Are you psycho? That was insane. Nobody did that in a sleepy little town of DeLand, Florida. There I am, fluting away.
Oh. I imagine, I hope that it's the same Suzuki family, like their brothers.
No.
One went dirt bike, street bike, the other went flute.
No, they're a lot of Suzukis. Yeah, there's a lot. Let's go with this one. Right. This is one of the hottest topics we've had lately. Ladies and gentlemen, the topic of batteries.
Yo, Tom and Dan, it's your boy Cadillac Pat. I forget your stance. What's your stance on batteries?
Now, we had that one that Pat called in. Then we had this one. Again, Pat gets a lot of airtime.
You guys were talking about batteries the other day and why they haven't gotten a lot better. And this is one of those things where, you know, technology improves so quickly for so many things that, you know, we wonder why hasn't everything improved at the same rate. But some of these things like batteries, it's really hard to improve them because it's simply a matter of physics. It's almost a miracle that batteries exist at all. You basically take a chemical or a couple of different chemicals, a metal and a couple other electrolytes or whatever, you arrange them in a physical shape that then will create a circuit and move electrons between one set of chemicals and the other set of chemicals, or one end of the battery to the other. And there's only so many chemicals that will do that, and they only have so much energy density. And that's why you have the difference between like your lithium-ion batteries that are rechargeable and have a really high energy.
You want to step in
hold
here?
on.
Is he making you hot? Is he making you hot? You're having to take your sweater off.
So
you're getting hot in here.
And
do people that are smarter than us make you hot? They make me hot. I always heat up when someone smart's talking to me. I'm like, shut up, it's hot in here.
Well, I have suspicions if this gentleman's actually that smart.
He did say he said miracle. Americo, like my dad used to say, like Americo. It's Americo.
Yeah. It's just like magnets. Magnets a miracle too. The point being that we've all heard that batteries have gotten lighter and more strong, right? Like battery technology. That's why like drones can fly longer, and like battery operated cars can drive longer. You know what I'm saying?
Sure, yeah.
It's
they
like,
are improving it.
It's
yes.
like the battery has gotten lighter and then more powerful or more efficient, right?
Gotcha.
And so that's been a thing. But why hasn't the AA have gotten more efficient and more powerful? If you can make a giant battery smaller and more efficient, why can't you make a regular AA more efficient and last longer?
I hate to do this because I know that the listeners hate it. They do hate this. But I know for a fact that there are different Tesla models that have batteries that are preferred over other models. So based on what I know about driving an electric car and what you're saying, you're correct. There are different variations, and there is rapidly increasing and better battery technology. So Tom's simple question is, he's not saying that you guys are wrong. He's just saying you would think
a AA
that if
would
they're
work.
improving car battery technology, though there's less people that have Teslas than use AA's, correct? We can all agree on that.
Yeah.
So you would think that AA technology at some point would get rapidly better, or has it, and we're just taking it for granted.
That was my question.
Yeah, I'm trying to explain it to the people that get mad at
From
you.
1995 AA, right? Okay.
Well, I mean, I had AA's in '86
size.
when I was playing with my stompers. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah. And, 1986 and now 2025
Yeah.
AA. Is there a significant difference
gotta be.
in how powerful
There
they
has
are,
to
how
be.
long they last?
There has
Because
to be.
there's no noticeable difference in society. And that I've ever heard someone say, like, man, these AA's last 10 times longer than when I was a kid. No one's ever said that to
They're
me.
calling me the Tom Whisperer now. The only,
Wait, you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand what you're saying. The only thing that I would say is that they added, and okay, I'm going to throw this out there, and I know we got to get out of here, but I'm going to throw this out there. Do you remember when Duracell added this strip where you could put your index finger on the top of it and your thumb on the back of it, and it would connect the circuit, and then there's a little strip on the side that tells you how much energy is in the battery?
Yes, yeah.
When that came out, my father and I both agreed, because he was still alive, that to use the tester is wasting the battery.
Because you're leaking energy.
Correct. I was like, don't put that on. I don't want that on my battery. You're leaking it everywhere. There's batteries all over the place.
It's like
now.
getting your credit score.
Yeah, exactly.
It
You
goes
don't get my
down.
credit score. Don't check it. Leave it alone. You're not supposed to. Every time you check it, you lose 7 points. I don't know. But we were convinced of that. So there you go.
All right. We'll see you tomorrow.